Yes, in this video where I make a speech about video choreography, you will learn something. Hopefully.
I should have known.
I will discuss qualities that make up video choreography or how it can be used effectively, and give examples on how they have been used effectively. Now this is called the golden ratio. This is also where everyone's attention goes and where primarily most of the action goes. It is also used to direct your eyes, and I better not click that because I was about to stop the video. I hate having to stop it. Anyway, take this for example, where it guides your eye and draws it to the left and then to the middle and then the upper right corner to follow the action, or it just takes you up and then it takes you down, or the other way around. Anyway, now the point of a dynamic shot is to have a point of tension, like in the last scene where everything led to an end point, like in this later scene where Bolt is running with the frisbee bomb on the train and the helicopter closes in behind him with a machine gun. And the point is at the top right corner of the screen. This shot looks dynamic because of how close the camera is to the machine gun. And note that everything that happens in this scene is dynamic because it takes place so close to the ground. Everything that happens in this scene is the area, the tension, the point of tension is that everything goes off into a horizon line, a vanishing horizon line. And as it works along with the music and keeps you in the action. A dynamic shot can also be experimental, like where it takes the foreground in where the foreground takes up some portion of the screen, or things are moving across the screen in some way to show off speed or convey some kind of tension, not attention. Anyway, like how in this scene where Kratos is fighting and the music is help building up tension, it's further amplified when Kratos jumps off the mountain to save his son from Baldur. He is Kratos, so this isn't like the first cliffside he leapt from, but the shaking of the camera, like this, gives tension, and him leaping off alongside the emotion in the action and the emotion, the music, it builds up this tension and makes you look for a horizon line, which there isn't one, except for when you look down and see the dragon below. Now, the difference between this scene and the one that Bolt had is that Kratos's is experimental but successful, because there was no visible endpoint, but in the center of the screen, in the golden ratio, the dragon shows itself. And later, after Kratos ends up killing the dragon and lands on the bridge over by in the Lake of the Nine, he ends up on the bridge, and the bridge leads to Baldur, where he can then save his son. But then the tension basically stagnates when Kratos got to his goal, but realizes he can't stop the Bifrost, which means he can't keep them in Midgard. So he has to do something. When the tension is basically reignited, and you can see the camera follow his hand as all the tension had to go into what he was doing. That basically was, as you saw just now. But we basically got that build-up of tension, and boom, we see the hue or the color of Helheim, which like built up the same kind of tension from when he leapt off the mountain. And now they're soaring through the air, and they're in the golden ratio. You'll see the golden ratio like a lot more. And I can't stay on this topic forever, but unlike Kratos and enduring the loss of his family, his first family. Boom. Double meanings. Double meanings are actions or events with different meanings. I can say a lot about how a lot of things have double meanings, but again, this is a video choreography video. Yeah. So Akira has a bunch of double meanings and even more dynamic shots, but the general point is that there's always something going on. And at the end of the movie, after this one catastrophe, like all throughout the movie, we saw the city bright, alive. But at the end, it's broken, but quiet. And basically, as a whole, the series' message is that individuals will live on even after a conflict occurs. But it also tells the story of how conflict is not easily resolved without cost. Another example of double meanings is in Pirates of the Caribbean, Curse of the Black Pearl, when Jack Sparrow tells the pirates about how the Navy plans to kill them when they leave the cove. But he convinces them to kill the Navy officers before they deactivate their curse. He does this in a way that associates that with the gold, the curse that they all have. And basically, he explains how he does it by like dropping like this. And he does this in a way to emphasize to William that he has to wait for the right moment. And then we see the pirate crew, on their way to attack the Navy ship, and how it's very reminiscent of Jack and William, and how they were underwater earlier in the movie. And when the cursed crew are crossing underneath the shadow of the ship, our attention is focused on the natural shading, the natural design, and how the golden ratio attacks. It makes it look a lot more like natural cinematography, like the boat above and the shadow below. Then we get this scene where when Mr. Sparrow springs his attack, and the two fight on until Sparrow is killed, only to become an immortal skeleton pirate a moment later, showing that in one scene he changed the outcome of the movie with just visual storytelling. And as an example of visual storytelling, here's an example of visual storytelling. In Death Note's most, I guess, infamous like scene, it's also dubbed the potato chip scene. A good portion of Death Note is the psychological conflict between Light, which is a high school and then a college student who obtained a book that can kill people, anyone he writes the name of, in a couple seconds. And And just like that, he became like a super murderer, serial killer in like overnight. Uh, anyway, the psychological conflict between Light and L, the only detective in the world that located him without help, and is out to confirm who the murderer is, how they killed so many people because no one really knows, and then to arrest them. Now, in this scene, L basically rigged cameras all over Light's room, but
Judging by the number of cameras he's planted, he's planning to make a decision within a short period of time. Any normal person would slip under these circumstances, but it won't be that easy with me, L. This is the closest you'll get.
Elle was expecting Light to do something out of the ordinary that a normal high school / college student wouldn't normally do. But the double meaning in this is the fact on how the two, interpreted the bag of chips. For Elle, the bag was nothing and he probably would not remember it by the end of the month. But for Light, everything hinged on whether the bag was also tapped. If there was no camera in there, he would have been discovered. But at the same time, everything it's all about how well he could bluff his way out of that scenario. So basically, the point is that visual storytelling is told without words, and you can see it perfectly executed in these scenes. Next, and finally, is the weight of an action or an object. Now, there are two terms when I write weight. The first is emotional weight, and the second is physical weight. As an example of emotional weight, I could bring up the shot with Kratos leaping off the edge. That is emotional weight because it's backed up by the music. And another example is when he remembers when he killed his first family. Another example is how at the end of Bolt, how at the start of Bolt, the entire movie felt different and his super bark felt different as well. But by the end, his super bark meant a lot more because he realized he needed help to save Penny. Physical weight is when you have a camera follow alongside something moving realistically. An example of physical weight is you could see in the first episode of the pre-2000s Berserk anime, where the camera follows his sword. And another example is how in Monster Hunter World, the camera normally follows the player until you see a new monster and the camera orbits around the monster to show off its qualities. Now, in this scene, you see this mound of monster corpses in visual range at the start, and then you get the same shot slightly different at the end, showing off its size. Now, for this final example, here is one of the most overlooked fight scenes in the animated series of RWBY. This whole scene uses all the things I discussed. This is actually fight choreography, but it holds the qualities that still follows video choreography, such as the golden ratio. It distracts the audience with dynamic shots and double meanings behind decisions that lead into the next and the next and the next and the next. You get the point. Yeah. That is my informative speech. I hope I did not take too long, but thank you. Bye.